G'day guys, PowerShell Michael here. So yeah, today had good news, really good news with regards to Azure Functions 2.0 preview. So today we've basically gotten I've spent a bit of time off camera working out why I was having issues with the functions not starting correctly, having issues with executing functions, things like that. Obviously last time I was having issues with trying to install Azure Functions, and basically it all came down to Chocolatey. So what I did was I ran a standard install with the Azure Core SDK, the Azure Function tools, obviously Node.js. Installed those items obviously with extension, Visual Studio extension, and it broke and with Chocolatey. So what happened was there's a lot of installer references to the Chocolatey installer, and that was causing a lot of issue. The Chocolatey .NET packages that it was using. So what I did was I basically had to uninstall Chocolatey, uninstalled that, and then I had to reinstall pretty much everything, including the SDK tools. And that was basically one of the issues that I was having with actually trying to even create a function after uninstalling Chocolatey. So if I wanted to try and create an Azure function, it would just basically be pointing me to version 1.0, not 2.0, so I didn't have any of that .NET Core goodness. So I fixed that, got that working, which was really good, and then basically did some testing. So there's still some issues there. I think it's just because I'm running a workspace already with executing it, but I managed to get around that. So one of the things I found was that if I try to actually run the function right now, so if I go to the debugger and attach to debug process, it's probably going to make a lie out of me. Can I finish this? Until PowerShell finish this session. Okay, that's fine. I think that is due to attach to PowerShell functions. Okay, that's broken. Let me just restart that. So what was happening is that I was launching VS Code and it just wasn't running properly. So what we can see here is if we just go debug, attach to PowerShell function, we get that error, and it's actually just due to the running path. So we're still in a host function start, and it just doesn't have all the files needed, so that's fine. So what we can do to mitigate that is we can just jump into core here. We can just browse to that directory. So if I go demos, PowerShell bot project /function /bot demo. You can see there, so I can just go host function start. That will, which is it? What's it now? Just quickly find function host start. Oops, sorry. So if I just go function host start. There we go. I'm starting my Azure function. So as you can see there, I've got my URL. It's basically defined my get post types. That's really quite interesting because it does support both. So I think input bindings are passed via the parameter block. Okay. So I do really want to have a bit of a play around with this. We've got trigger metadata and request. I'm guessing the way that it's working is it's defining. If I can see in here, this is the actual function itself. Okay, here you go. Here's our method, so we can actually just define it there. Okay, that's really easy. So I actually have a better understanding of how it all ticks now. Hello, viewer. So that's really good. Just to letting you know, viewer, we were basically having issues. I was having issues because I screwed up the install with PowerShell functions. So I fixed that up now. And I've obviously got it running, which is much better. So the rule of thumb is don't run your manual installs and then run a Chocolatey install, because the installer files reference the Chocolatey and then basically breaks everything. So clean that up, remove that. Had to do a bit of work off camera to get that working, and now we're back in business. So I've obviously got our function working. So now I can actually start writing the code that I've been wanting to write. So it's quite interesting. Functions are generally like it's following the same principles as .NET CSharp functions. So at the end of the day, though, I think I'm pretty comfortable with creating a new one. So I was going to call this. Let's just call this HTTP local send. This is what I've been wanting to do for ages. Realistically, you can see there, it's actually, yeah. If I can just rename that, and to be honest, all I need to do is probably just copy those files. So I'm just going to Control C that, terminate that job, so we're not making changes on the fly. Just go to Explorer, and I'm just going to grab all that in there, copy that, paste that, do that. So now if I have a look in here, there's my function. We're just going to make it a post, like so. So it's only accepting post, it's not accepting a get, which is fine because we're basically sending data. So this is kind of back off the Christian PowerShell 101 with Michael and Christian. We're building a bot framework so we can actually execute PowerShell over the internet, similar to automation, Azure Automation, but we're just building it for the sake of just obviously learn PowerShell, and this is a good opportunity for us to learn functions preview too. So so obviously HTTP out name response, yep, that's fine. Direction in, yep. That's pretty standard. Like I wouldn't really need anything else. So type HTTP trigger, yep. Instant in, name is request. Just have a quick look up here and see what its names were. Yeah, HTTP trigger. So I think I'm just going to execute this now, and I just want to see what it's going to do, because I think it's going to be fine. So if I just do a function start, yeah, there you go there. So it's actually it's bound off the folder, which is really good. That's basically what I thought it would do. So that's just kind of going from CSharp functions. So that's really good, sweet. All right, so what we need to do now is I'm going to grab this code. So this is the code initially that we'll write. We wrote, not written or write. And basically what it's doing is it's taking a whole bunch of what's it doing? So it's basically accepting the body of a request, and what it's doing is, so from an infrastructure perspective, where we're on our local machine and we're interacting with this API endpoint, and what we're basically sending it is the PowerShell code, the computer name that we're wanting to target, and I think there's something else. I really kind of forget because I haven't used this in so long. So that's my functions. I'm just gonna collapse that. Debug SQL. Get content request call rule. Yeah, and we're gonna clean this all up because this is the old PowerShell 1.0 functions. Test object property. Yeah, so it's just basically property name and a computer name and code. Yeah, so it's just taking those two properties, and then what it will return is a GUID, which gets stored in the database. That's basically similar to automation. When you get that job ID, it's similar. It's the same thing. We're just generating a GUID. That's going to be our reference point in the database, and then a status of in progress. So what I'm going to do here is, you can see I've got some other bits and pieces I need to tweak. This is basically just a straight PowerShell script. I'm going to take this code and lift and shift it into our function. So using namespace, system.net. If you're not familiar with using namespace, basically it's the same as CSharp. So PowerShell, you can reference namespaces directly within .NET. So I can just basically call system.net, and rather than having to go system.net HTTP status code, I can actually just reference that. So it's exactly the same as C#. There's not really much difference. Though the only the really cool thing about that is that it can reference a whole bunch of other things. I know it's using that. Like I predominantly just use it for namespaces, but you can use it for other things as well. Interestingly enough, however, it actually does plug into the requires statements. I found that out the other day. So if I actually had a custom class in PowerShell, and I just went using namespace, and I made a bit of a boo-boo, and I just say, you know, custom class, that actually completely broke it with a requires statement error saying, hey, there was a requirement, it's not meeting the specific versionings, things like that. So that's actually really funny because yeah, I was actually a little surprised. It's actually just learning about the how PowerShell ticks underneath. Yeah, restart it, that's fine. Yeah, I killed that one, but that's fine. So basically this is all hopefully going to run in core. This is just written for PowerShell, so I'm hoping this is going to run for core, but we'll see how we go. So I think the first thing we need to do is actually move our functions and our generic code in. So I'm just going to basically do a complete copy and paste, and then I'm just going to basically do this, and then we're just going to start sorting our code. So obviously using statements the very first line, So we can pop that up like so. There you go. That's a request and response. That's what basically where our expected request is, and there's our expected response. So we've got that, and now we actually need to work out what we need to do here. So interestingly enough, this is actually one of the really cool things with C#. Is actually instead of sending, in this instance, we're just sending a hash table response saying of a HTTP response context. In C# you actually return either it's a bad, like a 400, or you can actually just say, hey, I want to return, I think it's bad context or something like that, HTTP bad context. So all you're doing is you're just returning a bad response, and then you don't have to actually even define what the HTTP status code, it does it all automatically for you. So I was like, oh, that's cool, but this is still pretty cool though. Like obviously you can define what, rather than have to actually say what code it is, we can just say whether it's okay or it's bad. So that's pretty cool. Like I can't complain, to be honest. So we've got request and trigger metadata. So this is going to be interesting because I need to go back and have a look at, did I actually copy and paste it in the wrong one? I think I did, damn it. That's alright. That is okay. I'll just copy and paste all this. I'm going to need to fix that code. That's fine. Actually, what I'm going to do, just do this. I'm going to fix my code. So where does the body come from? So you've got name is request. So yeah, okay, it comes from that. Where's trigger metadata? Just nothing. That's fine. Okay. So to get the body, basically we've got request query.name, so that's request query name. So and then we've basically got request query body. That's pretty easy. Okay, cool. So what I'm gonna do here, oops, just gonna go back to my code, put it in the right PS1 file, not stuff this up. So I'm going to keep that there for the time being until I actually fully understand what the metadata does. Like, if you guys know what metadata does, definitely tell me, like, because at the end of the day, though, like, I don't actually fully understand what's going in terms of what these variables dictate explicitly. So, get rid of that. I'm not going to hook it into a debugger yet. So, we don't need a query name, so we can bin that. We've got our body, which is just going to be name. Okay, hang on, what did we do there? We just broke that. So request name, body.name. So status, that's your body. Body is name, hrequest.body.name. Okay. I'm going to be intrigued in what that does. So if I actually, I might just run a quick test. To understand what request body returns. So if we actually just send a quick PowerShell to it, we can work out quickly what it does. So what we can do is just jump in there. What are we going to do? We're going to go method is post URI paste body. I'm just going to do this hopefully for the first and last time, man, I was literally sitting here for ages trying to convert from JSON, or convert to JSON, import object, putting my object. I'm just gonna go tests, and this is a test, and I just want to see what it does. It's probably hooked into something. Oh, I've got to wait debugger. Stop it and restart it. Please pass a name on the query or within the request body. Okay, so let's try body. I think I like literally. Okay, I'm just gonna have a quick squiz at what it's doing. I think I'm gonna have to hook a debugger into it to work out what's going on there. This is one of the problems I had with running, is trying to get their debugger to work. It wasn't playing ball. See, if I run wait debugger and then I try and hook into it, it just doesn't work properly. Request.query, request.body.name. I need to see what request has inside of it. That's really what I'm gonna need to work out. So let's try, and we're just gonna have to go under the debugger and get this working. So I haven't gotten this working yet, so this is gonna be fun. So restart the service, hook, restart our functions. Okay, now I should be able to hook into it. It's attached to PowerShell host process. Okay. Did it hook? I don't think it did. Well, it's still sitting there, so it hasn't returned anything. It's still cracking on. The thing is, the way that the documentation says was you use wait debugger and then you attach straight on. And that's what I tried, but it hasn't really played ball. Yeah, that's fine. Alright. If in doubt, consult TechNet. It's good stuff. That's really good. Alright, let's get help it. See if we can get something out locally. Okay. We are literally... Okay, how to pause Stack Overflow is great. PowerShell script, yep. Debug run space. Okay. Let's try that. Wait, let's try that. Can we just YOLO it? Let's see what happens. Let's get one space. Okay. I don't... Can debug run space using this commandlet to debug. Okay. Create a face script that simulates user provided scripts. Enter PS host process, debug run space. Okay. VS Code. No. I'm definitely open to ideas here. I'm definitely open to ideas. I'm just gonna go back to his documentation and see what he said, because there was this one's the worst, so I might have to just go Nope, that's not the one. I'm just gonna go to the link. I got a link bookmarked on my Slack channel. Where's my Slack? Okay. Alrighty. Okay. This is the one I want. Copy link. Paste link. Okay, I'm going to save that one for later. That's something I need to have a look at, and that'll help me understand all the bits and bobs. Just quick start. Yep. Create a PowerShell. Yep. Install that. Done that. Done that. Done that. Yep. Done that. Remember to remove any calls. Yep. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's deploying it. How do we hook into it? Okay, when you call. To debug your function, install a wait call. Yep. Before you want to attach the debugger. Then press F5 to start the function app project and attach the debugger. Output from core tools is displayed in the terminal panel. Okay. Okay. This is the problem I was having before. Just gonna try. Oh, that really. I think that's. Oh, actually, I think I finally got a debug. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna stop for a second because I don't think. Clean that up. We'll try again. Yep, that's fine. Alright. Yeah, that's basically executing it, but it's actually not starting the host function. Okay, so that's launch. This is the one that it was supposed to run, but it doesn't run. Could not find task function host start. But it's there. It's like need hard coding it, so I can launch stuff this time. Yeah. The thing is though, like if I actually like just jump back into the terminal and you can just do a that starts. Now it actually does go to await debugger, so I do suspect I can hook, but I'll just see what happens. Okay, so I'll try attach the host process. While we're trying to do that. No job functions found. Interesting. But it has functions. So host attach it. Okay. To end debugging, type the detach command at the debug prompt or press Ctrl C otherwise. Interesting. Oh, this is the pain with all new technology. It's definitely not. It's definitely a key loose behind a screw loose behind the keyboard, which is me. So, so apparently now I don't have my functions anymore. Ah, is that because? Yeah, that's because I'm in the wrong directory. So if I hook back out and jump back out, and then do a function start, I should see my directories. Yep, there they are. Sweet. So now I'm going to try and hook in again. And then we're going to do just a HTTP trigger. Let's just go name equals hello. Yeah. Read line. And I should have a debug. I don't. I'm definitely out of ideas. This is actually quite annoying. Trying to attach, but it's not attaching. Yeah, it hasn't attached onto it. So, what does it say? Debug. Yep. Insert the call, and then press F5 to start the function app project, and then attach the debugger. Output from core tools is displayed in the terminal panel. I think. It's actually quite annoying. I didn't want to have to spend more time troubleshooting this. Just wanted to get this done so I can deploy it. But definitely, if you guys got any suggestions, let me know. It'll be really good. If you call the HTTP trigger endpoint without passing a name parameters and either a query, yeah, that's fine. This PowerShell project is the same as a function app running in Azure. Yeah, obviously. List of developer and folder structure. Yep, defining. Yep, modules. Yep. Trigger metadata is optional here. If you don't need it, you can safely remove it from the param doc. Okay, trigger metadata is parameter specified. Okay, UTC now when the function was triggered, method name, the name of the function that was triggered. Okay. Okay, cool. PowerShell bindings are configured to define as the functions function.json. Okay. Let's just stop this. Okay, we got what do we got? Functions runtime, the same directory. Yeah, okay, so if we have a look at the functions, what do we got here? Okay, auth level direction in, name, request, parameters. Okay. Okay, so you can define, yep, that's quite easy. Yep. UTC now, method name, bindings, configure the function, yep, read a trigger and input data. Direction set to in, the name property, yeah. Running output data. HTTP direction. Ah, okay. Yep. Produce our output value. Okay, you can pass value specifically, yep. Yep. Okay. Push output binding. Okay, so we use push output binding. Yeah, that's pretty easy. Push output binding, queue the output binding. Out queue. Oh, interesting. That's cool. Okay, same logging type. One of the things I actually would really like to see in this is use of iLogger, because yeah, okay, yeah. To be honest, I think like write error, write warning, all that would basically be there'll be proxy functions or something that would write to iLogger, but like that would be really cool if you could actually just reuse iLogger itself, because it's so good. To be honest, I think if we're using .NET Core, we should be able to like, yeah, if you, oh, I don't know if that's gonna work, because usually when in CSharp you define it in the method. Yeah. Anyway. Yep. Triggers. Hash table. Yep. Yada yada yada. This type. Okay. Yep. 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 All right. I think we're just gonna give it a go. Query name. Yep. That's fine. Hello name. Yep. So request when you use triggers. Yep. So that's HTTP in trigger anonymous. Yep. Direction in. Yep. Query name. Yep. Yeah. Yep. 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 By default, functions PowerShell runtime can only process one invocation of a function at a time. However, this concurrency level might not be sufficient in the following situations. If you're trying to handle a large number of invocations at the same time. Really? That's okay. Well, that's, yeah, okay. Oh, that'll change anyway. They'll fix that up. Okay, you can run this cold start. Blah 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 blah. All right, let's get stuck back into it. So we've got our using statement up the top here. This is my mate's code. My mate's code. Test object property. Yep, that can stay there. That's just basically a function I wrote that can test object properties. So rather than like just use as a get member. And like whether if it's a hash table, it treats it a little bit differently. But all it does is just looks at all the properties and makes sure that that specific property exists. It's better than actually testing, and it really comes down to Boolean types. So if you're basically doing a test of a property, if you go, you know, like variable.boolean equals false, and obviously Boolean can either be true, false. And in PowerShell, if you basically test true or false, or when you test a variable, let's say it's integer and it returns true or false, then yeah, you know it exists or not. But for Boolean, that just doesn't work, and it can be that can get a little bit dangerous. So it's easy just to use test. I just use this test object property to make sure that my properties really exist. So I've been caught out a few times by that. So anyway, I'm going to write an invoke SQL query function. It's really terrible. Actually, no, it's okay. I'm not gonna say it's terrible because we use it all the time at work. And it's actually way cleaner than using just using what we had previously. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm gonna obviously need to get the body of the HTTP request, create a GUID, validate the input. So that's fine. We're gonna need to convert from JSON. So I need to update that. I need to update the response, invoke SQL query, alter the database, and send it to squid result. Yeah, okay, cool. So first things first, we can get rid of that. So we can pop that up the top in the param block. It's an input binding, so we're just going to use the request. I'm just going to use request.body.name. So that is our body. This is probably going to break catastrophically and I won't be able to debug, so that's going to be fun. So if I get rid of that and then request body dot. I honestly feel like I need to dump out request.body, which I'm just going to quickly just do a dump. I'm just going to do a quick dump. Right, so I can actually see what's going on. This is like the worst way to do it, but I can't hook and I need to get this done today, so convert to JSON. I'm just going to do some crash debugging. I just want to see what's inside that before I start tweaking with it, but that's fine. It should still launch. If I launch the wrong one, that'll completely, if I launch the HTTP local send, that will pretty much break everything, so we won't launch that, and we'll just run this. Yes, perfect. Now if we go back here, yeah, okay. Okay. Adding dependencies. There's no prints. So it's actually, yeah, okay. That's fun. Okay. I really don't like flying blind in an object that I don't understand. Okay. Let's just go back to that. I'm going to close that down. Convert to JSON. We need to see it. We're going to drastic levels now. Just so I can actually see what the object is. Definitely not recommending this kind of debugging, but I can't get debugging hooked in, and I don't particularly want to do that until I need to get this working initially. So I'm just going to work around the issue and then I'll off camera get that fixed. So I just don't want to be troubleshooting it because it's pretty boring for you guys. So let's do a function start. Hopefully we can actually get a response. Yep, perfect. Okay, so if we go back now, temp, oh. Where did I put it? Yeah, ctemp.object.txt. Okay. Oh, ctemp, whoops. I don't know what I was doing there. Ctemp is not my directory. And I'll quickly Control Z. XT. Let's just save that. Oh, and debug, okay. Object, perfect. I'm just gonna... Okay. So that's interesting. So you can see there's the body. That's really cool now. So what we can do is, that gives me a bit of an idea of what the object is. I'm actually going to send both a body as well as a I'm going to send a body as well as just a URL query, because I really want to see what it looks like. To JSON, input object, name equals test, like that. Cannot send content body. What did I get wrong? Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. Can you send the body as part of a request? Yeah, I can. Oh no, sorry, no, you're right. No, my bad. Sorry. Post. Yes, you're right. Sorry. Now let's have a quick squiz at the body. Don't delete. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So that's really good. So you can see the type. I think that's actually really cool. That's actually like one of the things I love about this is the fact that you've got all the goodies in just one big package. You've got the body, the headers, the method, URL, parameters. It's just, that's actually really cool. And you've got raw body. Oh, interesting. So I wonder what the difference is. Like, well, I don't think it's formatting it as JSON. Like, that's a... Yeah, that's the thing that I find quite interesting. It's not formatting it as JSON. Like, so I would have thought, like, if that was body and it realized it was JSON, maybe it... I don't know. That's something I'm probably going to have to do some research on. Anyway, that's all good. So we now know that body is that, which is great. So now if I jump back into... I'm going to literally close one down and open the other one up, because I'm going to literally get confused and start writing the wrong code, and then everything's going to break. So if we go request.body, convert from JSON, that will basically convert it into our object, which is perfectly fine. I can test the properties. Now I need to actually write a failure out. So what did I write? Status has failed. Write host status. Okay, whatever that was for. So if we go back to our code down here, we actually can just update the status with the body response. Oh, that's easy. That's really easy. Oh, perfect. So what we can do here, so statement require evaluates to be false. So we can just get rid of that. We go status. We can do that. I'm just going to return it as a. Yeah, I'm just going to create an object, just hash table object. Okay. So natively, okay, yep, we're just gonna do it. Okay, yep, that's fine. Like, so it's interesting how they've done it. They basically have got, so they're evaluating all the potential outcomes, and then they're basically just returning it down the bottom. That's traditionally how functions are done in C#. So I'm just kind of like thinking of how I'm going to adjust my code to be able to cater for that. So, but that's fine. That's fine. So yeah, GUID, convert from JSON. That's fine. What we can actually do is so this ain't going to work at the moment because I've still got to fill out the SQL parameters, but what we're going to do is just do a fake insert into a database row. Invoke SQL query. So what I'll do there is just do a... This is basically just invoking into a Azure database. I'm just going to hard code the connection string in there. So I think, yeah, there's, you can see the queries in place. That's fine. And then I'm just going to do an invoke and then just splat it in. That's basically going to terminate. So I'm probably going to need to wrap that inside a try catch, since it will produce terminating errors. Well, does it? Yeah. I was thinking about putting an error action preference, but no, I'm not, because if I do that, I'm going to get lazy, and then I'm not going to be able to return an error saying that there was a problem inserting into a database. So I'm just going to update the response. This is the problem I found, like with sending error codes and writing error code, like error logic for people, is that like whatever error logic you write. Now this is one. There's one exception to that, but I'll get to that. Whatever error logic you write. So for example, there's a problem submitting the request, or there was a problem something. It's still so generic that like without a stack trace or something like that, you can't like. It's really hard to reproduce the issue. So like, let's say for example, you had an intermittent issue where the SQL service was for whatever reason stopped and restarted. Like the user account kept getting locked out on your local infrastructure. And then you keep getting this issue and you're like, oh, what the hell? And it just like, there's no stack trace to be able to trace that. So if you like, you kind of have to rely on the logging side of things to be able to deal with that. And that's one of those things where I was like, well, yeah, that's actually really painful. So what I will do is I'm going to do a write error. That's going to write a non-terminating error. It's not going to do a throw. And hopefully we catch that in the logging. So let's log. But the one error I have to admit, like this is like, I still to this day don't understand. It was back in the day of Adobe 6 where we had, was troubleshooting this issue, and the error we got was unknown error. And I can understand it probably hit a statement, like it's triggered a statement where the evaluation is else from it's triggered a case statement or something, and this was a condition that wouldn't have never been met, but for whatever reason it was met. And I remember like looking at this error thinking, well, how the hell do we troubleshoot this? And even trying to like engage Adobe at that time to be able to, trace the specific error was literally impossible. The only thing we could really do was wait for a new version. And so that's what basically we had to tell, staff, don't do that specific action that you're doing, because there's nothing IT can do to support that. And so what we had to, and then we just had to wait for a new version. Then once we got licensing that, we just installed a new version of Adobe. But you can imagine trying to like, as an IT person, troubleshooting that and communicating to a customer saying, I have no idea what that is. So yeah, fun. I'm also going to log, I might as well be very prudent. I'm going to actually log that the properties don't exist, because it will cause issues. It will probably catch me up, and then I will be wondering why, and then I'll have to add it, and it's only 2 seconds worth of work. So that's done. Invoke that. Yep. We're going to skip the invoke because we're just going to go through that, so I'll need to test that code later. I'm not going to test it now again because I don't have wait debugger hooked up, and I need to work out why, so that's going to probably take me a couple of days to sort that out. But on the good news is that we're working with functions, and me screwing around with Chocolatey is a bad news. So whatever you do, I installed .NET Preview and all the tools associated and the required dependencies into manually, and then I saw that was a Chocolatey install, so I ran the Chocolatey install, and then I broke everything, and then I'm sitting here wondering why everything's not working. It was my fault, but it's just obviously lesson learned, and it's still reminiscent issues, like obviously trying to start functions. I should be able to just go debugger attached to PowerShell functions, but that just doesn't work. So I think there is something still wrong there, but I'll get there and I'll fix it. So anyway, so we got that. Now this is basically a return object, so I'm just building a hash table. It doesn't need to be anything special. Invoke the query, else, yes. You actually realized the body can actually be the response. So I'm just gonna build a response here. Oh, I'm just gonna pop that in here. One of the things I love about PowerShell versus CSharp, but I can understand why though, is that scoping within try-catch statements. So if you're in CSharp, I need to define the body outside. So I've done that here. To be honest, I actually really haven't. I really need to declare that. I'm just going to declare as null. Like So it doesn't really matter, but like at the end of the day though, I would need to declare it before I hit a try statement, and if I didn't, it would basically, yeah, it's due to scoping issues. So the best way to describe it is that if you've got if you've got a function and you're calling another function, and you want to, let's say, in the parent function write to a variable to the child function, that's just not going to work. That's just PowerShell scoping, and it's there's no real that's just how PowerShell works. And if you want to get around that, you can use script variable scope, script variables or global variables. But like at the end of the day though, like it's just, yeah, that's like, you know, I'm like, you treat it like CSharp and you'll be fine, I reckon. Like obviously I get pretty lazy sometimes, and I'm just like, nah, she'll be right, and most of the time she is. But like obviously, yeah, it's always better to declare up the top. Anywho, so we've got our body, we've built that. I'm gonna basically build my response body, which is that. Yep, I'm gonna do it. So I'm just gonna say is a success response, and then I'm gonna encapsulate that inside its own property. So when we actually build that, when we see the response, we should see something along the lines of not that, but more along the lines of something like this. That's what I'm hoping for, so that basically it just means from a scripting perspective side, if we're writing a commandlet or something to interact with it, we can actually define, or we can filter based on the two property types, which is error and success. It just means it's a little easier to manage in terms of managing whether it's error handling it. So that's fine. Success, GUID, status in progress. Write an error if it breaks. Return the object. We don't want that. We're just gonna basically, we've got our status code. Yep. That's a bad request. No, it's not. It's good. We're happy with it. And at the same time, though, you can obviously use the HTTP OK. Interestingly enough, and this is the biggest thing about REST as well. So, like, there's sometimes I've found when interacting with REST APIs, it will return like a 400 or something like that. Or, obviously if you can't find the resource, it might return a 404. But then there's like other times you're using the same API, and it actually will return an error property with a HTTP status code of, like, a HTTP status code of 100, so it's fine. And then basically, like, you got a handle for both. So in this instance, I'm just gonna I'm gonna send errors down as if they do break, but at the same time, oh, I made a mistake there. I'll fix that. But at the same time, though, I'm like, realistically, it drives me bonkers. So that's the biggest thing. I talk about in my REST talk, but the biggest thing with REST is that the fact that it really is the right Wild West out there. Like I've seen some fantastic like documentation. Like a really good one is Graph Explorer. Like that MS Graph Explorer. I think it's one of the best, most well documented products out there in terms of being able to, they've got, like, Microsoft have really clearly defined, and they're adhering to that schema, so they're not in essence half-arsing bits and pieces here and there, where I've seen like other ones though, they've just kind of like, their authentication methods are not even any sort of standard. It's like a homebrew thing where they're not even using OAuth 1. They're basically, now they recently, there was another one where they recently upgraded to OAuth 2, which was really cool, but that was like, that's just pain in the backside again. So obviously, pushing output, yep, get rid of that, that's fine. Interact with the query parameters, don't need that, and I think that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to have a quick rundown of the code. Again, we can't debug it, so we're going to pretty much do crash debugging, which is going to be fantastic, but we can only see what we can do, unfortunately. Like, we can't, I don't particularly want to do that. I don't want to try and fix debugging today, so I just want to get this working and then basically get this deployed. Once this is deployed, then I'm happy, which means then I have a bit of a better understanding. So the next thing I need to do is adjust the function. We're only going to accept posts. That was interesting though, because last time we launched it actually said it was accepting. I'm just going to quickly do a shutdown. If we have a quick look, Oh, everything's catching up. That's fine. Oh, close Notepad. It said it was doing a get, but that's not right. Because yeah, the function .json defines the kind of method it is, and it's a HTTP post. So, well, we'll see what happens anyway. But let's have a quick look at the code. If you guys see errors, point them out. It's always good to have multiple eyes on it. So there's my request, that's fine. Trigger metadata, I'm not sure exactly what that is. We'll keep that in there until I have a full understanding. Don't need to worry about that. Don't need to worry about that. Generate new GUID. There's the body. Request body. Yep. That's the. I really should actually change that. I don't like that. I don't like how it just says body like that. It confuses me. I'm actually going to change that. Replace that with something like that. Yep, so we've got request body, response body. So that makes it a little bit more sense. Declare the response body. So we've done that. Actually, I can close down my Slack. We've got validating input, so testing the properties, which is just doing get member and looking at the properties and the note properties. We're then having a look at the request. So if it's that, yep, that's fine. Else SQL parameters, yep. Invoke it, it's just going to splat it in. We're skipping that, so we'll send a status code of OK, response body of that, saying success, that's fine. There's an error, write the error. Status is bad, there's a problem submitting the request. You know, I could be really jerky and then just basic. Actually, like, do you guys think, like, this is something that, I don't know, like, see, you shouldn't really include a stack trace in a response, but, like, because at the end of the day, you could reveal stuff. But then I kind of going along the premise that if I at least have a stack trace, like, that just gives me, like, I don't even have to go hunting for it. Like, I just know that it's in the response body, so I can just go, you know, like, look at the property stack trace. So, like, what do you guys think? Like, let me know, because I don't know, like, I feel like that's something I really want to do, because at the end of the day, though, like, I don't know if it's a good design idea or not, but, like, I'm kind of thinking more along the lines of troubleshooting, like, just, you know, you got a stack trace error. But at the same time, though, if you're, you know, like, I've seen some terrible stack traces where, you know, especially on ASP.NET, where you've seen, you know, websites dumping out, like, just ridiculous code, and you're like, well, I know now it's vulnerable to SQL injection, and it's like, you know, yeah. Within production, it should go to app inside, whether it sends, yeah. That's what I think. But I'm just like, you know, just like if it's an internal project, you know, you're not selling it to a customer, you know, I'm just thinking, well, it's just a little bit easy to troubleshoot. To be honest, though, I think this project actually might get deployed into production, and I might release it onto GitHub, because I like, even though I love automation, one of the things that I don't like about automation is the fact that, yes, you pay for code on functions, but the biggest problem with automation is that it queues the runbooks up. Now, that's good, like, don't get me wrong, it's got a queuing mechanism, but sometimes, like, when it just takes ages to start runbooks. I've seen times where it's taken 1 minute to 2 minutes, and I'm like, it's only, you know, a 10-second job that needs to run. Like, so you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs waiting for this process, and it just slows the entire automation process down. Now, admittedly, we should be using those technologies. That's what they're there for. We're kind of reinventing the wheel. But, you know, at the end of the day, though, it's always good to, yeah. Well, yeah, that's another thing as well. Functions have pretty significant startup time. So, I would, like, you can have them warm, but yeah, you're kind of like humming and hawing. Like, when I did this previously as a demo at work, where I was actually had like a process where I could actually write, for example, a function to deploy an Office 365 mailbox and like configure some additional a primary SMTP. I set a different SMTP alias, There's a bad example because you do that through AD sync, but we'll just go with it with me on this. And then I have a second one which would send a Twilio SMS, and I'd have a third one which would, you know, blah blah blah. And that was actually really quick, like to provision. Like I actually had it so that, and then I had a fourth one which actually sent a like it did a remote execution by creating a PowerShell local, like a PowerShell file on a local instance, and that was pretty much instantaneous. Like I thought it was going to take like, you know, like 2 to 3 seconds, but basically from start to finish it literally completed in half a second, and that was including the remote execution, which is like that blew me away because like obviously now, you know, admittedly there's a lot of code there that like it's obviously proof of concept and it's trial, and you got like very specific conditions that, you know, if anything changed, everything would completely explode. But at the same time, though, it was like it's actually pretty, like it's pretty snappy for even when it's like on a cold start. Like I found anyway. But that was in CSharp. I don't know how it's going to be in PowerShell. I'm hoping that it's pretty snazzy. But anyway, anywho. But the one thing I love about functions probably more than anything in the world is the fact that like it makes writing REST stuff so much easier, because traditionally you'd obviously have to build an MVP application in C# and ASP.NET, then you have to build your REST type APIs and all that kind of stuff, and it's just like, let's deal away with all that and then basically have a single, you know, you build your function, this is the REST route, this is your type of method that you want to accept, these are the parameters that you need to have, and that is it. And then like obviously you don't even need to, you can accept from, you know, service bus messages and event queues and triggers and things like that, and it's just like, this is what, like, for me, it was like, this is what I've been wanting for development for so long, because I really love that whole concept where you can just be like, yeah, I just want to send that over there, do that, put that on a message bus, that'll, you know, do what it needs to do, and go from there. Anywho. So status code, status, I just want to make sure that we're pretty good here. Yep, and request body. Alright, let's start it. Let's see what happens. Now this should be a post, like this shouldn't be a get post, but yeah, perfect. So now if I copy that and go back in here, oh, don't tell me I already have one running. Yes, no I don't, perfect. So if I go back to here, and then we'll just change this. This should, like, I'm going to do all the bad things first, and then we'll send it, I'll send an invalid property, and then we'll send the correct property, and we'll see what happens. So this should pretty much say nothing. Yep. Okay. Yep. Missing computer name property. Unsmiley face. Cool. So let's try this. And what was the other one? Code. Again, that's not very cryptic. That actually is really terrible. I really should write my error handling, my error messages better, but I'll fix that up later. Let's just go. Let's see what happens. Oh, look at that! Oh, wow, that's so cool. Okay, sweet. So, all right. Now, this is one of the things I really want to see what's going to happen. Is the way that it's supposed to work is it's supposed to, if we have a look back at the code, when we're actually sending the code, I'm actually encapsulating it. I'm going to encapsulate it in JSON. So we wrote a PowerShell script here, and we've got start PS remote job. This is what I wrote so that we can actually interact with this API. So what we can do, so if we go start PS remote job, body, computer name, convert to JSON, try and evoke the query, evoke the parameters, and just write the output. So, hypothetically, I should be able to run this, and this should be able to encapsulate all our goodness. Now we can specify the URI. I think that's in the parameter. Yep, so perfect. So now, I'm actually getting excited, which is a bad thing. I generally get super excited, and then I talk too fast, and then people tell me to slow down. So if we go there, dir, sweet. This is actually running in core, so I've actually wrote this for normal PowerShell, but it should work. It's generally following the same principles. Oh, why can't I tab complete? I'm just gonna. It has managed parameters. Why is it not tab completing? Yeah, of course it. Where's my parameters? So this should just take a script host. So just go write host, hello world, like so, and then we specify URI. That is definitely not a URI. I was hoping I had it in memory, but I don't. That's fine. No, that's not the right one. It's this one. Paste. Oh, why is that not working? Oh no, 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 no. No, I want you to run that one. So we should execute that. Current. Oh, for goodness sake. It's driving me absolute bonkers. For some reason it's not executing. That actually should have executed. If I... That's fine. It's fine. Just need to have a look where my scripts are. It's probably due to the... no, that shouldn't matter. I think honestly I've broken my I have broken my launch current file. I think I've broken my code, but that's just my fault. It's no one else but me. Launch the current file. This is driving me bonkers. That's weird. Alright, let's try something else. Let's jump in the IC. Interesting. Oh, maybe it is not working correctly. Why is that the case? What did I break? Oh my god. Oh my god, such a fail. So it's a function. I totally didn't realize that. So if it's executed into memory, it's fine. So now, oh my god, far out. What a fail. So if I actually just call the function, that should start it, but it's not. I'm just going to jump out of here and shift F5. That should be. Okay. That should have executed. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Run that. It's a function. Okay. It should need to because I'm just executing it in PowerShell. So, I'm not doing an export module member because it's technically not in a module. It's just a straight PowerShell script. So if I run it, oh no. Yeah. Because it's... I was actually going to see something. To hypothetically convert from base 64 should be there as well. And I don't think it will be. That's what I thought. Do it in the ISE. Convert. Yeah. It should be there. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's fine. I think it's just the way that I generally write my PowerShell yeah, okay. I have to write into a module. That's fine. I need to write it in a module. That's yeah, and then just do, like you said, an export module member to get it to work. But that's fine. Like I'll work on that later. But the main thing is I actually just want to test this code. So yeah, that's fine. Perfect. Missing computer name code property, aka I didn't work it. It didn't work properly, but that's fine. Computer name code. I want to have a look at that body. That's fine. So let me just work an F9 there. I don't know why, but I actually like debugging in the ISE way better. I just like the whole. It's just a little bit easier to step. That's just, yeah, I honestly, I don't think I have enough experience in VS Code yet, so I can't really comment. Computer name code. URI, yep. Localhost, HTTP send, application JSON. That should work. Missing computer name property. Well, it clearly doesn't exist. So I'm clearly doing something wrong here. I'm just trying to work out what it is. So it is JSON. Just help me focus for a sec. That's completely fine. Let's try something. What I'm going to do is grab that and just do this. Oops. Copy. Oh, okay. Go to JSON, computer name. Is my code case sensitive? It's going to be something silly I've done. Like, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I think it's something silly I've done. I would say let's try something. I'm going to try something. And what I'm going to do, did that encode as base 64? Yeah, it did. That's fine. that should be fine. It's just the... What am I doing wrong? I laugh so much that this works, but then I run that and it doesn't, which is quite hilarious. The only thing I can think of is this, unless the content type is having an issue. Could be. I'm just going to get rid of that. Actually, I'm just going to comment that out. Can I comment in here? Yeah, let's give it a go. Yeah, don't like content type, which is really interesting because that is something I found with so when like when I was using logic apps in Azure, I'd actually have to explicitly set the content type to application JSON, or you'd have the complete opposite, everything would break. So yeah, okay, cool. So as you can see from my code here, I'll just do it in VS Code because it's way easier to see. Close that down. So what we've got here is basically it's just convert base 64. I'm using UTF-8. I just wrote a, this is actually pretty old code, but it just converts to and from base 64. So that then I can actually, I'm gonna need to write this into a module. But that's actually good because it just means that it's more packageable, and then I can actually put it on a PS gallery. But then I'm gonna try and work out how to automate, package, and deploy function apps to be able to manage it automatically. Because at the end of the day, they don't particularly like, you know, any sort of compiling, anything like that. Yeah, you can do it, but it's probably better off to have a function app compiled and literally just have a configuration where you can apply it. But anyway, and then yeah, just converts to and from. Interestingly enough, CSharp. So when you convert to and from in JSON, because this is one of JSON in to base 64 in JavaScript, when you're using BOA and AOB, the two methods. It doesn't add padding on the end, so they're the equals character. So I actually had to, and this was something I found in C#, and it's so frustrating, is C# won't cater for that initially. So if you're basically doing a, you're converting from UTF-8 back into readable into a string format, into binary, you need to pad it. And if it doesn't, like and so I actually had to write just a quick loop statement to basically add padding to the end, and sometimes it wouldn't, and so you have to, yeah, that was actually something that was really irritating because JavaScript does it naturally, natively, so you're like, sweet, pass it, and it'll pass the entire string without the padding on the end. Then C# accepts that and it'll throw a runtime error because, yeah, it doesn't have padding, so it's always good to know. And that was something that was obviously intermittent, because with any sort of conversion, it depends on the padding, and does it need padding, does it not need padding. But anyway, so yeah, basically it converts to and from. Only in this instance we only need to convert to. Then I'm basically starting PS remote job, which is just really, it's just a wrapper for to invoke REST method. There's not really much in there. It obviously just has parameters what you can specify, and then all it's really doing is, like, the most hardest work it's doing is just basically converting base 64. It's encoding the script as base 64, which all I gotta do is specify as a where is it? Up here, just specify as a script block type, and then that's it. Like, I can just it'll automatically convert the string when I convert to base 64. So, and that's actually really good because it means that if I'm passing a script block type, then I'm preserving type, which is really important, especially when we're trying to transmit over the internet. So to base 64, wrap it in a body, send it to the rest of the API interface. That's going to now chuck it in a database. Obviously I've got to set that database up. I'm going to do that off camera. And then from that, we'll just do an insert into. Then I'm going to have another Azure function sitting up here, which will just, we can do a GET request. So the GET request will just have the body of, in the body it would have the computer name that it's hitting, performing the request, maybe some other bits and pieces. And then from that, basically that request goes to the database, that function does a lookup, returns the PowerShell code through the body. So very, yeah, it's pretty basic. And then the C# service will then bring that PowerShell down, execute it within the the PowerShell run space, and then format the response back, bring it back, and then and that'll just sit there, and then basically I'll have another function, another command function commandlet that will basically do a get on the response. So we can actually, this whole concept that I'm working on with my mate, it should actually allow for multi execution. So you could have, like, let's say 4 machines registered as per se, and you can just target all 4 machines and it'll push out that code to that, which is actually really cool. But basically you can just hit a computer name, yep, run that code on that, bring it back, and basically it's just all serializing. Yeah, like the response back will just be CLI XML serialized, so there's not really, that's just how PS remoting works. Actually, PS remoting, PowerShell remoting works, where it just serializes CLI XML. It's just pretty basic. So yeah, I think that I'm going to leave that there for today. It's actually a really good outcome. I'm really happy with that, because obviously we've got functions working, I've got my code working. I do need to set up the database, but that's something that can happen later off camera. And from that, then basically I can start writing the other part. The C# services is pretty easy. I'm just writing a C# services. Yeah, that's pretty basic. The hardest part's probably going to be the just completed that life cycle and then testing that whole process. But then once that's done, it's done, and maybe, like, whether I write it into a full-blown function or not, I don't know. Like, I'll throw it into a module and obviously deploy the functions, but at the end of the day, though, it's essentially just automation. It's literally the same way automation works. I think the only thing that's different is that Azure Automation, when you install the hybrid runbook worker, it actually maintains that HTTPS connection, so it's not polling as per a REST service. As per se, it's actually maintaining a 443 connection and then transmitting continuously on that. So that's obviously going to give you way better performance increase. But obviously for this is fine. We can just use REST to communicate to our endpoint. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's we're going to leave it there for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I actually really did. I got stuff done, so I'm actually really pumped about that. Thanks, mate. If you guys, stick around, make sure you, I'm usually streaming on Wednesdays afternoons, so whatever time this is for you guys, basically it's, if it's in America, it'll be Tuesday. If it's Australia, it's Wednesday, but basically it's roughly around the same time on Wednesday. That's when really we're doing the 101 sessions, and we'll be working on this project. This is more just of an offhand thing, me getting things working, because I don't particularly want to waste my mate's time, and he's just going to sit there and not do anything. But I'm hoping that we can get this done sooner rather than later, and then I do have another project which I'm kind of holding off on the moment, because one, I'm procrastinating on it too, but I'm wanting to finish the DSC configuration for WordPress servers. So I was going to build a DSC configuration to build, basically install Windows features, install those things, maintain the configuration as well. So it's obviously building the configuration, but it's also obviously doing what DSC is to do, which is maintaining it. So I want to do that so I can deploy WordPress servers literally with a click of a button, but basically do it through DSC, and obviously maintain it. The biggest thing I want to maintain is obviously also WordPress versioning, so that's something that I've kind of touched on. I'm going to use Chocolatey as my median, and I've also worked out what I need to do to actually deploy WordPress. So my goal there is to have a DSC configuration that you can stick on a server. It's going to update PHP, it's going to update WordPress. So what you could do is you can have, let's say you got your production environment, you got your staging environment. In your staging environment, you can basically have it automatically updating, and then basically you could run a whole bunch of tests, just pest a test or whatever, to test the functionality. And then once that's done, then basically you can deploy that DSC configuration into production, and then that basically this, because it'll automatically update. So there would need some sort of trigger there that we can actually invoke the update. But from an automation point of view, it just means that I don't actually have to perform a manual update. I know that like Windows and DSC will do that for me. So I hope you guys liked it. Sorry about my yammering. I generally talk a lot, so I don't know if you guys like that or not. But yeah, leave a comment in the suggestion box, and hopefully, I'll see you guys next time. But anyway, see you guys. Bye for now.